Welcome to Measuring Success Right, the official podcast of the Marriott Student Review, a podcast for students by students, where we connect the leaders of tomorrow with the issues of today.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. We have the special guest, Christina Clark, with us today from the Religious Freedom and Business Foundation. Christina has a PhD in Romance languages and is a professor at Lone Star College in Houston, teaching French. Lone Star College is very special to her and near and dear to her heart because of their focus on increasing diversity and helping minorities. She is the wife of the Vice President of the Religious Freedom and Business Foundation, and we're very excited to have her here today. Thank you for coming, Christina.
Thank you, Devin.
Wonderful. Well, let's get started. First question I have for you is, could you give us a brief description of your career and how you got where you are today as far as work and education?
Well, I was studying English in the Sorbonne in Paris and fell madly in love with Mr. Clark right now and left it all. I went to University of Oklahoma to study French and Spanish and got my diploma there and followed him throughout the world. We lived over 25 years outside of the United States, in Ecuador, 7 years in Qatar, 4 years in Mexico, 4 years in Peru, 3 years in Brazil, 3 years in Dominican Republic. And so I'm here because faith is my number one identifier. And I passionately believe in everybody being able to express themselves on their faith and their beliefs. And I also have had the opportunity to mingle with so many people in the world that, I guess I don't believe in diversity. I think everybody's diverse. You're diverse, I'm diverse, we're all diverse. Nobody is the same. And so for me, diversity is really recognizing everybody as they are. Everybody has some, how would I say that, some particularities that nobody else does. So I have a kind of a different twist on diversity, I guess.
I think that's wonderful. Thank you. Well, what is your role in the Religious Freedom and Business Foundation? Or how have you been prepared for that role as well?
When Brian Grimm, as a founder of a Religious Freedom and Business Foundation, came to Brazil, he was invited by my husband, and he made the case to, as he was discoursing about how religion was so good for the economy, and yet the restrictions on religious freedom are increasing. And so there was really this sense of religion is losing. The war on religious freedom is being lost. And yet, when Greg was talking about it, he said, when we lived in Qatar, if businesses had wanted to lobby the government, I think we would have gone much further than simply an ambassador, a government, and so forth, because it matters. Business matters to government, to the normal functioning of society. And so that idea that maybe we have not engaged enough business, we have not engaged at all business. It's been, religion and faith organization and government that have tried to push the freedom of religion agenda. And suddenly it's like, let's engage business. And we were on the road towards a beach in Brazil, Esmeralda, and Dr. Grimm turned to Greg and said, this is a key, this is what we need to do, and I'm going to leave Pew. He was a head researcher for Pew Foundation, and I'm going to leave because this is where we need to go. And there was such a sense that the Lord was directing what was happening that we were just I was very moved. I'll never forget that moment. And so he said, "Okay, you're my vice president," you know, and it was just really amazing. And so we cannot say really helping Brian, because Brian do 100 million things. He's unbelievable, but supporting him, especially with the ties with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, who is very, very invested in religious freedom. So when they said, "We're coming to BYU," me as a professor, I'm like, "I'm coming." And I want to talk to students, because this is such an amazing message of you can bring your faith to work. It changed anybody's life, that they don't need to live the largest amount of time that they're spending every day. They don't need to live hiding or worried to overstep on someone. They can be themselves. And I've seen, we've worked in the MTC in Brazil, and I've seen how young men, young women who have zero knowledge of a language. I mean, it's just like, and they're looking at me after 1 week and like, "I'm never going to get that done.
Oh.
I'm never going to learn Portuguese." And in 3 weeks later, they're speaking Portuguese and they're giving their testimony in Portuguese. And I'm like, the Spirit is such an amazing multiplier of skills, you know, and why would you ever not go to work with the Spirit? Why would you ever leave it at the door? And now that the company are starting to wake up and realize someone that has integrity, all the values brought, compassion, understanding, hard work that are brought by religion, why would you not want them to come with that? Absolutely. You know, it doesn't make any economic sense. And so that is a really cool message. I hope all students will embrace and want, as they're looking for a business, to have some visibility to be themselves. And if they don't have yet, that they can be that voice to start in that company and say, "I want to be the best employee in the world. I will be better if I come with my faith." Won't it be the same for you? Yeah. And start this grassroots movement so that every company, little by little, realize, yes, sex is important, yes, race is important, age, disability, veteran, all those special groups are critical, but religion is so critical for so many people. Why would you leave it out?
Right. We can't check religion at the door, like Elder Holland says, right?
Exactly. We should not.
We shouldn't. No, I completely agree. And I think a lot of people don't realize the economic benefits that come from letting people carry that part of their identity, their religious identity. So why is religion important in your own life?
Well, it's everything in my own life. Ever since I was a small child, I wanted to serve God, and I wanted to be a Catholic nun, because in the Catholic religion, if you want to serve God, you don't have much of a choice, right? Yeah. And yet, when I was around 18, 19, I felt there may be something else I could do. And then I met my future husband, who gave me the 6 discussions in the first 3 days. Wow. And
rapid fire.
And he asked me, "What's the most important thing in your life?" And I said, "God." And it has always been God, and it always will be God. And although I was head over heel about him, I said, I'm not changing religion because of you. Yeah. I will change it because he tells me to. My father tells me to change it. And so here we have a very beautiful, not love story, but conversion story also that would be appropriate probably at some other time.
Right. Well, that's wonderful. So religion is everything. I love that. What challenges have you faced personally because of your religion?
Well, when when I arrived in University of Oklahoma, I was still Catholic, and I started taking the missionary discussions. And it was really interesting to see how, when I arrived, everybody of the graduate assistants, the group of graduate assistants were really excited about me coming. I mean, they were just organizing parties and telling me to do this and that. And when I started telling them, well, on Sunday I'm going to go to my church and then to my boyfriend's church, and they found out what boyfriend's church was, I received a serious. I was truthfully attacked. I mean,
Really?
like trying to brainwash me day in, day out that I'm going to enter a cult, that I need to drop this. And suddenly I was no more invited, and I was really
It just threw you
ostracized.
off.
Yeah.
Ostracized,
Yeah. And so, I mean, honestly, I do what I think is right, and the perception of others. I knew that what they were saying about them was not correct, because I was going to church and I was welcomed like a sister. So I didn't have any questions, but it still does not feel too sweet about being in this kind of environment. And I realized how amazing it was. One day I went to get my mail, and the secretary in the department said, "Christina, you're a Mormon, right?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah?" And she's like, "What is that about?"
Really?
And let me share some things. And that was one of the sweetest moments I had, that I just suddenly was seen for who I was, and it was interesting, and that contrast between going to my graduate assistant group and being pushed away, and that secretary at the language department, how she made me realize how important it is to be able to bring your whole self to work.
Oh, wonderful. Absolutely. That's a neat story. That just because she saw you finally for who you were, it invited questions, and you were able to kind of share that part of yourself with her.
Yeah, and every time then when I went back to get my mail, she'll ask me something, or I'll tell her something, or we just exchange at that level. And that was a sweet moment in my day. It really was.
That's so neat. I love that. Well, a lot of people believe that religion is declining, not just in the United States, but in the world overall. That attendance is down, that people aren't seeking God as much as they were in the past. What is your response to people who say, well, it doesn't even matter anymore because religion's disappearing?
Well, it's if you just look at data, you can see this is not the case, right? We're having, I'm going to give you the right data, and it's 85% of the world's people have a religion, and it is growing, and in much more than people that don't have a religion or that are unaffiliated. So yes, maybe in the States there is a decline. I'm not quite sure, to be honest. I'm not clear on data in terms of, is it religious decline, or is it because I know that a lot of people may lose their faith, religion, but they still believe in they need a spiritual power. So there's a difference that I think we need to clarify, is people may still be religious but not affiliated to a church.
Gotcha. Wonderful. Well, have you learned anything in like your time as a member of the Religious Freedom and Business Foundation that gives you hope for religious freedom in the future, that makes you excited that the future is just going to be better?
Can't you tell I'm passionate? I'm so excited. I am excited. I'm excited that companies like Google, American Express, American Airlines, Intel, Dell, I mean, the list of the 100 and 200s realizing the importance of having a faith-friendly workplace is just growing. And that fills me with incredible hope because, yes, the restriction on religious freedom is rising in a lot of countries. Yes, there's a lot of social conflicts in a lot of countries. But I'm thinking that if every business, little by little, embrace religion as their core, as in terms of this is important for us to function. I'm not saying that they just revolve around religion, but they understand that it's part of their economic strategy to be efficient, right? To be sound. They're going to say, to government, yes, we need a more religious freedom. And then the people that are globally in those companies suddenly are not going to be kind to Muslim at work and then want to throw a stone to a Muslim as they reach their house. There will be, I'm hoping, this ripple effect that will reduce not only religious freedom restrictions at the government level, but also at the society level. So it's very exciting.
Exciting things for the future as businesses kind of start to realize the potential that allowing people to be their whole selves brings to their workplace.
There was the head of the Muslim ERG. ERG are employee resource groups. And that's those groups that are being developed within companies to support people whose faith is number one identifier. His name is Heidi. I don't know. And he shared this experience. He's in Intel, and when the CEO left of Intel and they had a big party, he started crying. And like, what is wrong with me? Why am I so emotional about this departure? And he said, it's because they let me be there with my whole soul. I feel like this is my family, and when someone leaves, it affects me. And so the relationship that suddenly one is going to develop for the company, the loyalty, the desire to do good for the company, to have them progress, is just raised dramatically when you feel you're heard, you're seen, and you're understood and respected. So it's a very good example to me that moral-wise and is going to have an impact on economy and on the bottom line of the company.
Wonderful. Well, I have a question. So I've been told that learning another language helps create a deeper understanding between you and other people. You speak multiple languages fluently. Do you feel that the ability to speak someone's language has helped you relate to them on a deeper level?
Absolutely. It's actually a real problem in my life, because if I know someone's in a group setting speaks Spanish, for instance, and I know that in terms of etiquette and cultural, respect for others, I need to continue in English. But it's killing me. It is killing me. I want to talk Spanish because I feel like I'm going to connect much more if I start speaking Spanish to that person. Same in French, same in Portuguese. It's going to be hard to stay and continue in the language of the group. So this has been a lot of fun to connect, but also kind of a problem in my life.
It's a problem when you can speak so many different languages.
No, none well, I wish.
Oh. I don't believe that. So does separating people, because there's religious ERGs, which you kind of explained, does separating people into different religious groups weaken interfaith relations, or does it strengthen them ultimately because everybody's allowed to express themselves?
That's a great question. If they stayed just in their little groups, I'd say it weakens the interfaith connections. No, But that's not the case. What happens is that they serve together. They celebrate together. They educate others together. So yes, there is a group, a Catholic group, a Muslim group, a Buddhist, an Hindu, and so forth. And if they stayed in their corner, yes, that would not be good. It would be the contrary of what we want to obtain. But because they are going maybe to join on a certain cause, whether it's child sex trafficking or child exploitation or racism or LGBTQ, they can take a cause and together work on them. Or a service project, for instance, in Houston, they have cannery, that the church has a cannery. And so we have the oil and gas companies that are coming to groups that are coming. And so they're working on service projects together. And to me, that creates ties that are way more intense than if they would have a party together, Yeah. Or another thing, for instance, they were talking about with Salesforce that's really embracing having a faith-friendly workplace with their Faithforce ERG. They're having vigil. Vigil when there's an attack on a group, the Tree of Life, whether it's Jewish or Muslim or Christian, they pray together. And to me, I cannot possibly think of a more intense experience than this moment of praying one for another, visibly, And I think it's beautiful, and so I think it does not weaken this interfaith because of the way they're approaching it. Obviously, like I said, if they didn't have any connection with any of the other groups, then it would be a lost opportunity. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but they're not. They're all coming together.
They're visiting other people's worship. They're educating each other on what their faith is about. Now, there's no proselytizing, right. And there's no trying to homogenize everybody, Yeah. It's really, truly respecting others' difference, understanding, respecting, and embracing their differences and appreciating them. And that's back to the concept of covenantal pluralism that is so strong, which is we all accept, understand each other, and we make a covenant to continue that way. You know.
So are companies like, if they had a certain faith's prayer schedule, are they adapting to that?
Absolutely. They have space accommodations for it.
Really?
They have the Muslim prayers accommodated. They have when there is Ramadan, when there's the Jewish holidays, those things are understood. Now, not everybody may take the holidays, but they may all celebrate it, and understand and appreciate it. So I think as the world is becoming more and more diverse faith-wise, it makes sense for a company, for people to be exposed to other faith. If only we're back to the bottom line. You're going to have customers that are Muslim, that are Hindus, that are Buddhist. Yeah. You're ready. When you're going to deal with them, you will be ready to know how to approach them. It makes sense financially.
Yeah. Even just speaking strictly from the bottom line, like you said, that it makes sense, but it makes so much more sense in so many other areas as well.
Absolutely. You're going to have at the level of innovations, a much, much greater increase of innovation. And innovation is the thing that drives a company. Over 29% of our revenues are from innovations in general, of course. Mm-hmm. And so if you have people that feel respected and safe and understood by others, without the fear of people judging them for them having a turban on their head or them having, they will be able to say things that they would not say otherwise. And this intra-communication is going to bring much more innovation. And that, again, is good for the bottom line.
Wonderful. We're not asking everybody to fast when somebody's fasting.
No.
We're just asking them to see them for who they are, appreciate their religion, and show your support in whatever way you can. Is that...
And understand why they're doing this. For instance, there was this example of a manager at Salesforce that saw that one of his employees was really down, and it's like, what's going on? Does he have a problem with his life? And he approached and said, what's going on? You look super tired. And the man just like kind of blurbed, well, I'm fasting because of Ramadan, thinking, how am I going to explain that? Yeah. And thinking the guy is just going, the manager is going to say, okay, and leave. But the manager said, oh, tell me more. And suddenly he says, well, Ramadan is a fast that we do to increase our compassion and so forth. And the manager said, this is amazing. We need to tell the rest of the team about this and accommodate you so that it's not so hard for you to work and fast at the same time. Just imagine what it's going to feel for someone to be seen and heard like this, and suddenly Ramadan is not something that you're wanting to hide, but you're like, hey guys, it's now Ramadan. I'm going to be fasting, so people will be more careful about drinking and eating in front of him, and that man in particular just became the best advertiser for the company. He's writing on social network and say, this is the best place to work. They are really taking into account myself, my soul, my religion, my faith, my needs. And so it has impacted his life, this brief conversation, this brief desire to understand in a tremendous way.
That's fantastic. Well, so what can we do as students or as members of the church?
Oh, I was so hoping you would ask me that, because there is a lot of things you can do.
Wonderful. Tell us.
And as student, and I think that the first thing, obviously, is to examine how important is your faith in your life. How critical is it for you to bring your whole self? Right? Would you be happy? Would you have a fulfilled life by leaving it at the door? So first identify, is it your number one, identify. Yeah. If it is, then you need to live congruently, authentically, and do certain things. Another thing that you need to do is also examine your biases. We all have them. We say we don't. I'm the first one to say I absolutely believe I do not have any biases. My daughter, who is a psychologist, said, "Ma'am, you do have biases." So involve yourself in clubs that truly allows you to meet people of diverse background and diverse life experience and different faith and so forth. Take classes on world religion, so that when someone say Yom Kippur, you know what you're talking about. What Ramadan consists of, and that will be helpful. Also, I guess, get used to understand that the same way that at school you're using your spirit and your brain at the same time, decide that's how you're going to function in your lifetime. You will use everything, all the skills that God has given you, and your spirit is one of them, right? A lot of things turns around soft skills. So I would very strongly suggest that to develop soft skills while at school, and I'm talking about conflict resolution, empathy, compassion, emotional intelligence, active listening skills, efficient communication skills, and selfishness, mutual respect, flexibility, creativity, ability to co-create, problem solving, critical thinking, inspiring leadership skills, time management, and organizational skills. All these soft skills are actually almost more important than other things, because the workplace change very quickly.
Yeah.
And so what you are learning right now, I hate to say it, but who knows what it will be like in 5 years. But those soft skills will be with you always.
Yeah.
And so this is also very important to develop. And I think BYU is doing a terrific job to try to train you in that sense of developing that. Educating yourself on other faiths and traditions, and understand that maybe because you know a Muslim that does this, that doesn't mean the next person that's a Muslim is going to do the exact same thing. Just like a Latter-day Saint will be different from another Latter-day Saint, for example. Would encourage faculty to offer classes that outline the best practices within also the workplace in terms of faith-friendly or teaching you how you can create NERGs, this kind of thing. Yeah. At a job fair, I would, for instance, mention to recruiters, is your place faith-friendly? This is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a faith-friendly workplace. What can you tell me about your place? And this will get quickly back to if they don't get to recruit a lot of people from BYU because they're not faith-friendly, that's going to get up. Yeah. Again, support clubs, events that promote religious freedom in the workplace. We're hoping to have annual conference, speaker series, and so forth. Offer to intern for our foundation. Offer to research. We're still needing data research on, for example, what are the key factors of a successful ERGs, or what is the economical impact in terms of numbers of an ERG on a company. Yeah. But I really think that at the end of the day is if you right now are living your life in a way that you're light at home and a light at work, you want to continue being that light at home and at work. And so I think that's probably the number one thing I would advise students to do in BYU and in the other schools.
Perfect. What a wonderful answer. Okay, I have one final question. It's the one we do with every podcast. And that is, how do you define success?
I define success, this is very personal, when I look at myself in the mirror and I think God is happy with what I'm doing. It's not complicated. Happens every day. And I'm like,
but it's effective.
Is my life following what He had planned for me to do, and that would be for me my how I would define success for me.
Perfect. Thank you so much, everybody. This has been Christina Clark. Thank you.
Thank you, Devin.
This podcast is a project of the Marriott Student Review at Brigham Young University. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Marriott Student Review or online at marriottstudentreview.org.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast do not necessarily reflect official policy or position of Brigham Young University or the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.